Welcome to Not Your Average. I am not your average. Disclaimer. Do not come to me in the flesh, or I will send God to you in the spirit. Again, do not come to me in the flesh, or I will send God to you in the spirit. Y'all, it is cold out here. Not only is it cold out here, the wind is blowing. So, here we go. So, this is day 2 of purpose and obedience, right? So yesterday when I posted God knows the plans he has for you, that is part of this series of purpose and obedience. So we are on day 2 of purpose and obedience, and we are going to be in the book of Jonah, and this is running versus obeying God. Okay, now Jonah only has 4 chapters. I'm not going to read the entire thing, just the gist of what we need to learn and understand from Jonah. Okay, so chapter 1 verse 1 says, "Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry out against it, for their wickedness has become before me." Okay, but Jonah arose to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare and went down into it to go with them to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. Okay, so that's chapter 1, verse 1 through 3. Now, Jonah got the word from the Lord to go to Nineveh, right? And let them know that God was going to destroy the city because they were so sinful. But Jonah got up and ran away. And one of the reasons, or the main reason Jonah got up and ran away, is because he knew God. He knew God was not going to destroy them. He knew that God was a loving God and that he would not destroy them. So he ran. He was like, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm going to go down there and you're not going to do it. So he ran away. Okay? So, still in chapter 1, verse 4 says, "But the Lord sent out a great wind on the sea. There was a mighty tempest on the sea, so that the ship was about to be broken up." So, being that Jonah ran away and got on their ship, God caused the storm to hit the sea. So, they're on this boat now, and the Marines are afraid. They're crying out to their God for help, but nothing is taking place. So the captain goes down to where Jonah was. Now Jonah's sleeping now. Jonah is sleeping, minding his own business. Jonah is sleeping while everything is going on. Okay? So the captain went down to him and said, "What do you mean, sleeper?" In other words, how can you sleep during all of this mess? "Arise, call on your God. Perhaps your God will consider us so that we may not perish," right? And another one said, "Come, let us cast lots, that we may know who's the cause of the trouble that has come upon us." So basically casting lots is pulling strings. The person with the shortest string, you're it. Okay? So then they said, "Please tell us, for whose cause is this trouble upon us? What is your occupation? And where do you come from? What is your country? And of what people are you?" So Jonah replied to them and said, "I am a Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land." Right? So at this point, he got to confess who he is, what's going on, and why, he's on the boat. So then the men were exceedingly afraid and said to him, why have you done this?" For the men knew that he had fled from the presence of the Lord. Now, because these men knew that Jonah fled from the Lord, they're scared. Okay? Then they was like, well, what should we do? Oh, hold on, y'all. Look like my nose running. Oh. Hold on. 1 second. It's freezing out here. Okay, I'm back. Excuse all of that. Done ripped the page. So then they said to him, "What shall we do to you that the sea may be calm for us?" So they're trying to figure out how they can save themselves and do whatever they need to do with Jonah, right? So Jonah told them, said, hey, just pick me up and throw me in the water. Just pick me up, throw me in the sea. Now, Jonah had so much confidence that he knew the Lord. He told him, just pick me up and throw me in the sea. Just pick me up and throw me in the sea. That's how well Jonah knew the Lord, okay? So the men were like, no, we ain't doing that, right? So verse 13, still in chapter 1, says, nevertheless, the men rowed hard to return to land, but could not, for the sea continued to grow more tempestuous against them. So the more they tried to row this boat with Jonah on it, the storm got worse. So therefore they cried out to the Lord and said, we pray, O Lord, please do not let us perish for this man's life, and do not charge us with innocent blood. So now they're at the point of praying to the Lord and saying, hey, please don't make Jonah's blood be on our hands. So they picked up Jonah and threw him into the sea, and the sea ceased from raging. So now they done threw Jonah off the boat, okay? And it says, then the man feared the Lord exceedingly and offered a sacrifice to the Lord and took vows. Okay, so now they're praying to the Lord, not their God, but to the Lord, okay? So now we're going to skip down to chapter 2. And I just want to get the gist of this, because had Jonah obeyed what the Lord said, Jonah would not have gone through all of this, okay? Chapter 2, verse 10 says, so the Lord spoke to a fish, and it vomited onto dry land, okay? Let me go back, because we still in chapter 1 right quick. So after they threw Jonah over the boat, right? Now the Lord prepared a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights, okay? 3 days and 3 nights. We back on the 3 days and 3 nights again. So now let's go to chapter 2, verse 10. So the Lord spoke to the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. Okay? God spoke to the fish, and it threw Jonah up. God controls everything, down to the sea creatures, okay? Because he spoke to the fish and told him to throw up Jonah on dry land, okay? So now, chapter 3, because like I said, I don't read the whole thing, but I just want to get the gist of it so we'll know the difference of obeying God and running away, okay? Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah again. Now he's on dry land, he good, the fish done spit him up. So the Lord went to Jonah again and said, hey, do what I told you to do. So Jonah arose and went to Nineveh. Now Nineveh was an exceedingly great city, a 3-day journey. There we go with that number 3 again, a 3-day journey. So when Jonah began to enter the city, y'all bear with me, I'm cold and trying to get through this. And Jonah began to enter the city on the first day's walk, and he cried out and said, yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. So in other words, Jonah went to Nineveh and was like, hey, in 40 days, God about to destroy y'all. That's it. Whatever. Okay? This is, I came to tell y'all, this is what God fixing to do. Okay, so when the people of Nineveh believed God, proclaimed a fast, and put on sackcloth. Sackcloth, when you do that, is like mourning during the time of something is wrong. So this word got to the king, and the king made a declaration that nobody in their kingdom or nobody in that land, that city, nor the beast would eat or drink. Okay? So then God saw that they were repenting from their sins, and it says chapter 3 verse 10 says, then God saw their works, that they turned from their evil way, and God relented from the disaster that he had said he would bring upon them, and he did not do it. Okay, so this is the whole reason why Jonah didn't want to go there, because he knew God was going to change his mind of destroying this city. Okay, so chapter 4, we almost finished. Chapter 4, but it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he became angry. Okay, so Jonah got mad because he knew from the start that God was not going to destroy them people. Why? Again, because God was loving and he had a heart for the people, or has a heart for his people, right? So it says, so he prayed to the Lord and said, our Lord, was this not what I said when I was still in my country? Therefore I fled previously to Tarshish, for I know you are a gracious and merciful God, slow to anger and abundant in loving kindness, one who relents from doing harm. Right? So Jonah mad. Jonah's big mad that what he ran from the first time, God did it. Okay? He knew that God was not going to take these people out. So now Jonah is mad. Okay? Verse 3 says, therefore now, Lord, please take my life from me, for it's better for me to die than to live. So in other words, he's telling God to go ahead and take him out because the word that he gave did not come to pass. So basically he feel like he looked like a liar to these people, so just take him out. Right? Then the Lord said, is it right for you to be angry? So the Lord asked Jonah, is it right for him to be mad that he saved those people? So Jonah went out of the city and sat on the east side of the city. There he made himself a shelter and sat under it in the shade till he might see what would become of the city. Now Jonah still looking for the city to be demolished. Right? He's still looking for the city to be demolished, but he knew God wasn't going to do it. Okay? So God prepared a plant, basically a tree, for Jonah to sit up under, and it gave him shade. Okay? But the next day, God sent a worm to eat up the tree. Right? So Jonah didn't have no shade no more. And it says, and it happened when the sun rose that God prepared a firmament east wind. So that's a very fierce wind that's coming in, like this wind that's blowing right now. Very goodness. And the sun beat on Jonah's head that he grew faint. Then he wished death for himself. Now Jonah wishing he was dead again, right? Because now he is out there and he's hot and he's tired. And it says, is it better for me to die than to live? Right? Then God said to Jonah, is it right for you to be angry about the plant? Right? So God asked him, said, is it right for you to be mad that this plant has been eaten? And he said, is it right for me to be angry even to death? Jonah mad. Jonah's big mad, and he want God to take him out, right? But the Lord said, you have a pity on the plant for which you have not labored, nor made it grow, which came up a night and perished in a night. And should I not pity Nineveh, that great city, which are more than 120,000 people, and not to mention their cattle, and much livestock. Okay? So, y'all, listen. Stop running from the Lord. If you're running from the Lord, stop running from the Lord. If the Lord has called you to do something, go ahead and do it, because He's going to make a way for you to do it. Something's going to happen where you're going to have to do exactly what God has called you to do. Okay? So, I hope we learn from Jonah, from his running versus obeying, because when God tells you to do something, just go ahead and do it. Jonah ended up in the fish for 3 days unnecessarily. He went through all of this, but Jonah knew God. Okay, he knew that God was not going to demolish that city. So with that being said, y'all, stop running from the Lord. Obey what the Lord has told you to do. Follow the instructions. Just do it, even if it don't make no sense. Even if you know that God is going to relent from what He's telling you, go ahead and do it. So y'all, I just wanted to come on right quick. That is day 2, or this is day 2 of Purpose and Obedience. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon when you see this. Not your average.